Look in your home. Look in your office. Look in your home office. Everywhere you turn, there's so much smart. At Capella University, we think education should be smart too. Our game-changing FlexPath format puts you in control of your master's degree, so you can learn how, when, and where you want. Smart, huh? Yeah, we think so too. So if you want to take the next step in your career, make Capella your first step. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
Kunal, you are absolutely to blame for this very misleading podcast title.
Oh no, not at all. It is a fact. Tamara Ecclestone, who by the way is Bernie's daughter, stepped down as the sole director of her company called Tamara Ecclestone Brands. Not that I care. What I care about is the real Ecclestone stepping down. And to most of us who have followed the sport for so many years, it seems long overdue.
Well, that would be some headline, wouldn't it? We can only hope so. In the new year, maybe. And I almost forgot, Kunal. We got so carried away with our podcast that we've missed wishing all our fans and listeners very happy 2016. Woo!
Happy New Year, and may you all have a fantastic year ahead. And maybe Formula One fans have a competitive and entertaining season in 2016. Amen.
Amen.
But Mithila, I will go back to Tamara Ecclestone. Reports claim that she's made a $10 million loss in her business and is 4 months behind on paying creditors. Strange that being an Ecclestone, she struggled at doing what her dad does best. Business.
Forget her father. You know, she should learn doing business from Renault. Kunal, can you believe how much they've bought the Lotus F1 team for? £1. £1! Isn't that amazing?
Technically, you and I could buy a lot many more Formula One teams with our sort of network.
I suddenly feel very rich.
We spoke about this the last time. They've done a fantastic job with Alan Prost on their side. They've negotiated a great payout from Bernie and got themselves the iconic status. And now these reports of buying an F1 team for £1. It is one thing to own a Formula One team and another to keep funding it to run it. The saying, more the money, the faster you go, is probably coined for Formula One itself.
Oh, but you know who the exception to this saying is? Is Pastor Maldonado. So Renault might have been really smart in their boardroom negotiations with Lotus and Formula One, but I tell you what, I don't think they've been very smart in their driver lineup. I wonder what were they thinking when they decided to honor Maldonado's contract.
I wonder what PDV SA were thinking when they decided to back Pastor Maldonado at all. But before we butcher him again and further, let's remember he is the 2010 GP2 champion.
And interestingly enough, Pastor believes that the 2014 GP2 champion, Jolyon Palmer, who is slated to be his teammate for 2016, is ready for Formula One. Now, this is very worrying, Kunal. Given the quality of Pastor's drives in 2015, I really wonder, what does Pastor mean when he says ready for Formula One? Does he mean that Palmer is ready to spin out and crash and... Oh my!
You know, in this case, I also wonder if he meant that both Renault drivers could compete to complete the least number of racing laps in 2016.
You know, it's always so ironic when Pastor claims that the stewards are harsh on him. You know, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Maldonado.
You know, first he blamed the media. Now he's blaming the stewards. And can you guess who could it be next?
I have no idea.
It could very well be the Inside Line Formula One podcast.
But on a more serious note, Kunal, I'm very excited to see how Palmer performs. It's not always that we get to see a GP2 champion actually graduate to Formula One. And we've also seen rookies like Verstappen and Sainz. They performed so well last season, and I have hope.
Oh, of course. GP2 is actually a series that was started to feed drivers into Formula One. Glad that they're delivering, and even more glad that sponsors are lining up to support the drivers and help them seal a drive. But this could be well on the decline. It seems that drivers and their managers are now happy to consider DTM and WEC and other single-seater series as options given how expensive Formula One has become of late.
And is that a worthy career option?
Well, of course, when one takes to single-seater racing, Formula One is always on your mind. But a good drive in DTM, WEC, or any of the other single-seater championships isn't too bad after all as well. And guess what? If you are talented, you will have manufacturers line up at your doorstep, willing to pay you a hefty sum to race for them. And the best part is that you might not even need a sponsor supporting your drive. And if you are a fan, just like I am, you might just find the other series far more competitive and entertaining as well.
Well, it's not much of a surprise that Fernando Alonso has expressed interest in these series too. He had a taste of GP2 this season. Paul Di Resta graduated from and then went back to DTM. Mark Webber is the reigning WEC champion. So there are role models outside of Formula One too, if you're a budding racer tuning into us on the Inside Line F1 podcast. But Kunal, the question on my mind, where do you think Kevin Magnussen is headed next? Any of these series?
Ouch. I am just glad that I am not Kevin Magnussen. I wouldn't know where he's headed next. The options, though, do seem the usual, but it doesn't seem like Formula One is where he'll be.
The drivers alone aren't the ones attracted to the other series. So we've had reports say that Adrian Newey too is now interested in the LMP1 class of the WEC. That's news.
I wonder how boring Formula One has become for the multiple world champion and talented designer Adrian Newey. After designing championship-winning cars, he's actually designing sailboats and now WEC cars. And let's remember this, it is only just now that we've suddenly found that WEC has become popular.
But let's go back to Kevin Magnussen for a moment, Kunal. He's almost become like the poor little boy of Formula One. So he claimed that Button was all set to retire at the end of the 2014 season. And Button even had a helmet designed for his finale, all ready to go.
If he decides to retire at the end of 2016, I really wonder if Button can have a different helmet designed for his final Formula One race.
But if I were to draw out an alternate life scenario for Jenson Button, had he retired in 2014, I think his marriage could have been saved. Maybe. So he and Jessica Michibata, they cited lack of time as one of the reasons for this separation.
Ouch. We can only wish both of them well. And while we do that, let's hope that the 21 Grand Prix calendar of 2016 doesn't lead to more marital breakdowns in the sport.
I just hope they find new yoga partners. But for McLaren and Button, though, it just doesn't seem that they get along very well with the Japanese, does it?
Or for that matter, nor does size 0.
Seem to be working. No, it doesn't. But this is the first time since many episodes, Kunal, that we've barely spoken about Lewis-Hamilton or Mercedes. If he's listening to our podcast right now, as I'm sure he is, I'm sure he's feeling really bad about that, knowing Lewis. But here goes. Lewis has claimed that Niki Lauda was not a fan of his driving before. Well, we wonder then what actually sparked off the epic bromance in the Mercedes garage.
And I really wonder if this was timed with Lewis's split with Nicole.
I think it was the vodka. But Kunal, finally something good might come of the Mercedes dominance, that we've all been cribbing about all this while. So Toto Wolff has said that should their dominance continue through into 2016, he might just let Hamilton and Rosberg race against each other on their own strategies. That sounds awesome, doesn't it? Fight.
That Wolff He says a lot of things, especially in the off-season.
Oh wait, I know exactly what we should call him. Formula One's crying wolf.
It would do Mercedes and their brand really good if they were to let their drivers race on track and in the pits via tire strategy. We've seen Hamilton complain about this in the last few races of 2015 as well. And even more so for Mercedes, because in the past, dominant teams supported and won only with one lead driver. And here's their big chance to be different.
Interesting point. We will hold you to that, Mr. Wolf.
An interesting point, not from Mr. Jean Alesi. He claims that Kimi Raikkonen should help Vettel to the title next season. I really wonder how that's going to be possible. I think Raikkonen first needs to help himself before thinking of helping Sebastian Vettel.
But the one driver who is already dreaming of a Ferrari drive in 2017, should Kimi Raikkonen retire, is Esteban Gutierrez. So it's really strange that someone who has only just signed up for newcomers Haas and hasn't even driven a single lap yet is already dreaming of his next move to Ferrari. Let's live in the moment, shall we?
Oh yes, and the moment that I am now reminded of is of Michael Schumacher and his life-threatening accident 2 years ago. I cannot imagine that it's been 2 years since the accident, and I can only hope that he is recovering well.
We've heard a lot of rumors in the last 2 years, and especially in the last few months, we've been hearing rumors about him being able to walk. And this is one rumor that I really, really hope is true, because we'd love to hear good news from Michael, yeah?
Of course, we are eternal optimists, and let's wish him well in his recovery.
And before we sign off, we have something really special for you guys. This week, we bring to you Horner's Corner, brought to you by none other than Christian Horner. So, Kunal, Christian Horner said that Mercedes' dominance is hurting Formula One. Well, Mr. Horner, we really, really hope that you and Renault have some serious plans of challenging the German team in 2016. Else you are hurting the chances of our podcast having non-Hamilton titles and content. Mr. Horner also said that an independent engine is needed to balance F1.
Yes, finally a smart statement. An independent engine should have been thought of a few years ago by the FIA and the FOM. They only realize it now, given that Ferrari and Mercedes are virtually controlling the sport by deciding who to and who not to give their new engines to. And on that note, here's a quick reminder on FIA's Make Road Safe campaign.
Bernie says, think before you drive, guys.
Celebrate responsibly and drive safe. See you next year.
A different future starts with you. That's why GoDaddy does more than help you find a name. You can create, sell, and get found online so any small business can drive change or build an empire. Because old ideas aren't cutting it anymore. This new year, we need a new generation of thinking, your way of thinking. So whatever you have in mind that will help make a different future, find everything you need to get started at GoDaddy.com. Because the future isn't decided yet. It's still ours to win. Start different at GoDaddy.com.